All right, what's up, guys? So I'm here, joined again by the wonderful Zander.
Yes.
And basically, what we're going to do today, obviously, we just uploaded that video where we did sort of a formulation review of some of the items that I'd made over the past year and a half or so of learning programming with spaced repetition. And I thought it'd be a good idea today to actually return to some of the items, specifically the items that we went over at the end, and do some reformulation. So actually show the changes that we'd make to the items and perhaps even the items that we create in addition to the ones that were already shown to sort of solidify the understanding and improve some of the poor formulation that was on display in those items. Uh, so yeah, I think we can just jump straight into the first one. So
Okay.
this is the one about the early history of high-level programming languages, and um, basically, it sort of I like this item because it sort of ties into my understanding of high level programming languages and how they evolved over time. But I think Zander, you had you made some good comments about how the interesting things that I said about this item and why I liked it, they weren't actually present in the item itself.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
do you think there
Yeah.
are some what practical things can I do right now to perhaps solidify my understanding? What changes could I make to this
Mm.
item to improve it? Yeah.
Mm. So yeah, I mean, I it's funny because I've thought about these items 0 times since we discussed it. So
Yeah, yeah, sorry.
this is truly just me thinking.
Yeah, I am
And
putting you on the spot. I mean,
no. I like it. I think this is good because people might get value from seeing the fact that I'm not like I don't know this stuff instantly. It takes me a little bit of thinking. But
yeah.
anyway, the first thing I would ask is, do you know roughly what time period is being referred to by early history?
In the early history of high level programming languages, if I were to just throw dates out there, I'd say between 50s and 80s probably. Uh, actually, yeah,
Mm.
that's a good question. What I'm more thinking in my head of, um, I'm thinking in my head of like assembly. That would be like a low level programming language, and even back in the day,
Mm.
that would have been considered low level, right?
Mm.
And so, early history of high level programming languages. I think the first high level or the first language that was then considered to be high level, but now is considered to be low level. That would be C. So that was the first one,
Mm.
and indeed, it's like in C, you only really had functions. You don't have classes or anything like that. So I don't know.
Mm.
It kind of slots in with that, I guess.
Mm. Okay, so would it make would it imply the same thing to just say early high level programming languages only abstracted data slash process? Would that imply the same thing?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so I would initially rephrase it to that, and then we can do another refactor from there.
early high level programming languages, uh,
Only abstracted.
or do you mind if I just put only included? Uh,
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
okay, nice. So we've
So there we go. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just going to say yeah, like so one of the first reformulation sort of patterns, I guess. I guess it's
Mm.
so simple that it's not even a pattern, but it's just
Mm.
it's a combination of things. What we did was we simplified the item by removing extraneous detail and text. We shortened it, I suppose,
Mm.
but you also
Mm.
made it more clear what's being asked about. I guess.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I like that for multiple reasons. One of them is like I like to get the close as close to the end as possible so
Mm.
that you just naturally read the whole thing. Because otherwise what happens is you sort of have to if the close is close to the beginning, you have to read the whole thing and then come back to the thing. And I don't know, I tend to find those less effective. So and then I would just remove that comma there. Yeah. And so there's one thing. And the next question I would ask is, so you already mentioned a couple. So you can think of some high level programming languages where this would be true.
Yeah. So like well the main one that comes to my head because it's the one that I have experience with, or a tiny little bit of experience with, would be C. So that being basically the first high level programming language that only contained process abstraction.
Hmm. So probably what I would do is make another item and say, what's an example of an early high level programming language that only included process abstraction or something like that.
That's
right?
really nice,
Or
yeah.
you could say that did not include data abstraction, or however you want to phrase it.
Okay, so give an example of an early high level. Oh man, you're gonna see my terrible typing skills now.
No, don't worry about it, pal. And
High-level
if you guys
program.
make fun of his typing speed, there's gonna be problems, all right?
Of an early high level programming language that only included process abstraction.
Process
right?
abstraction. Yeah.
Okay.
And then what I tend to do with given example items is I wrap the whole answer in parentheses, and then I do e.g., and then just list them. That way, I'm sort of signaling to myself, these are not the only ones, but these are just some answers that fit the question. Does that make sense?
Could you reformulate that?
Yeah, so just open parentheses, close parentheses, and then in between there,
Mm-hmm.
I just do e.g., like example, and then the first one, so C. And
Okay.
then if I had another one, I would do comma, and then add another item.
Okay.
This way, if the next time I review this, if I think of another one, or if I go read some more and there's another example, I can add the example there. And I'm also signaling to myself, whatever I think of here is not the definitive answer. It's just one that fits the question. So I like to use that answer, like example, in the parentheses to signal that there's more to this. There could be a much larger number of examples that fit.
Right.
But this is just the one that I decided to include.
Yeah, I like that because although it might seem trivial and it might seem that you would remember that over time, but in my experience, it's been the case that you slowly forget sort of your you slowly forget that sort of detail over time. So you forget that there were multiple answers that you could have given, and so if you do end up if you gave an answer that was valid but wasn't included in the answer, you might fail it when it was actually a valid answer. So even just that small detail, it is important, and yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Right. Yeah.
One of the things I'm wondering about is like whether I should something I sometimes do is use the highlight thing. So it just makes it clear to me, like if I add another item that's give an example of a programming language that only included data abstraction, for example, sometimes I find that even though, the words are different, I get some interference between them. And sometimes if I'm going through my items fast and I'm not paying attention, I mix the two up, if you know what I mean. Process and data get scrambled in my head, and I just answer reflexively. I just, for example, I'd see this item and I'd answer reflexively as if this was data rather than process.
Right.
So I find that just by highlighting this word, it usually clears that up. That usually helps.
Yeah, personally, I'm not a fan of that because I view it like giving myself a hint. So okay. I personally don't like that. But if that works for you, honestly, there's probably no issue with it. Maybe it makes it slightly easier to answer, but yeah, there's probably no issue with it. And if it helps you a lot, and you know that it helps you, it's probably fine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'll stick with it. Let's go on to the next one.
All right. Yeah.
So this one concerns iterators, and again, it's sort of asking about abstraction. I think in the formulation review, one of the things I mentioned that I thought was that I thought the answer was a little bit long. So do you have any suggestions for how I could shorten it?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely ways to rephrase it. Just initially, what I think is you could say allows traversal of every element of a container. So you could instantly remove a few of the words.
Nice.
Well, I mean, probably leave the end part until we think of something better. But then, is that one of those reference markers at the end there?
Yeah, from Wikipedia.
Is that what that is? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I guess I could get rid of that.
So, Yeah, I mean, that part doesn't matter. I tend to get rid of things like that, but it doesn't actually matter at all. Okay. Let's try to think about this some more.
Oh,
You,
oh, sorry, I
yeah,
don't
go
want to
ahead.
interrupt you if you're...
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things, I'm struggling to remember exactly what you said, but you said something really interesting about how I'd phrase this. Like I said, what is the value of an iterator in terms of abstraction? It's like I'm just, I wish I remember what exactly you said because it's really good.
I wish I remembered what I said as well.
Let me think. Yeah, it was something like using the word value here was kind of almost misleading you because it's more like what does an iterator allow you to do rather than it's asking you about like the function or like what an iterator allows you to do rather than what's its value.
Right.
So maybe
right.
Yeah, changing it to like what does an iterator allow you to do or something like that. What does the abstraction of an iterator allow you to do or something? I don't know.
Yeah, or you could move the word abstract to the beginning. So you could say abstractly what is the value of an iterator, or what does an iterator allow you to do? Because technically that's true. I mean, this is just sort of describing the abstract like nature of it. The benefits probably, if I asked you, well, what's the benefit of being able to do that? Then you might be able to articulate some example where, oh, so you have this thing and you want to do this, but then you also want to do this, and you want to be able to take different data and all this stuff. So, or different data and do all these related things without knowing, and whatever. You'd give some example, right? So, I don't know. Probably in this case, I would move abstract to the beginning and just say, what is the value of an iterator? So abstractly, what is the value of an iterator, right? And then you could just remove so that's a little bit simpler. And then whenever I make a close like that, I just remove the marker from the question, but that's personal preference.
Good point, yeah.
And then let's see if we can rephrase the answer even more. So, would saying allows traversal of a container implies that there's elements within, right? So maybe you don't even have to say of every element.
Very good point. Allows traversal of a container without knowing its internal structure. Yeah, that's much more terse. I like it.
Right.
Oh, I've got a
good...
Oh, sorry. I've got a question. Oh, perhaps you should go first if you're still talking about this item. Mine's more like...
No, go ahead.
Okay, sure, yeah. I was going to ask, like, after you reformulate an item, do you think it's a good idea to, like, reschedule it, to reset it, and get the benefits of, like... I think that actually might have reset it. Whoops. Never mind. But yeah, do you think that's a good idea to do that?
No, I almost never do that unless I've actually changed what the thing is asking.
Okay.
But if I've just changed the wording, but it's conceptually asking the same thing, I just let the algorithm continue how it would have.
Okay. So, sorry, did you mention like what circumstances under which you would reschedule it? Like,
do you think so like I say, if you change the concept that's being asked, but it's still the same item, then it makes sense to forget that, because essentially it's a new item, except you didn't tell the program that. So
okay.
That's worth doing. But this is actually about the same concept. It's just phrased in a different way.
Okay.
So I think it's fine. I wouldn't reset it in this case. I almost never reset it because it's a very rare circumstance where you edit an item to such a degree that it's actually asking something totally different.
Okay. So as long as the semantics are the same, if you just change like syntactical things like the specific words or whatever, or the grammar, then you shouldn't reschedule.
Yeah, I mean, at least I don't. And then there's probably some extreme case where you've changed the semantics or the syntactics sufficiently. Is that the right word? Syntax? Syntactics? I don't know. Whatever. You've changed it sufficiently. Yeah. It probably is syntax. But anyway, you've changed it. You've changed the wording enough, even though the semantics are the same, And there's probably a degree of that where you would still need to reset the item, or it would be beneficial to do that, but I just almost never do it.
Dude, look, it's added it to the pending queue now. I've got to actually reset it.
Oh my god.
All right, so I have screwed this up. I will set how about this? I'll set the interval to like 50 days, right? Because I've already done a bunch of repetitions, so this will reduce
you could probably remember this for 200 days.
200?
But hey, man.
I almost want to see this again, though, because it's like a nice idea. You know, that's...
All right, well, yeah, just put it whatever you want.
Okay.
Maybe 30 days, whatever.
All right. Maybe I'll go for 30.
All right, there we go.
Beautiful.
What a ridiculous thing. Why did it go to the pending queue?
I don't know.
That's outrageous.
Okay, let's... final item. It's the computer science analogy, and it's talking about DNA. It's trying to make an analogy between the messenger RNA, transfer RNA, and ribosomes or whatever in the DNA, making an analogy between that and a programming language's interpreter. Yeah, I think this one...
So, what's the thing that's being analogized? I'm confused.
Actually... Yeah, what was interesting to me, I didn't think it's very easy to explain, because it's like one of those items where I think the interesting part might be in my head and not in the item. So let me try and articulate why it was interesting. So instructions for building the DNA's interpreter, right? Okay. Yeah, what was interesting to me was that the DNA is like a programming language, right? But it also encodes its own interpreter, because the messenger RNA and whatever, they're created from the DNA, I think.
So basically, you're trying to encapsulate that RNA and ribosomes are equivalent to an interpreter for the DNA, and they're encoded with the DNA itself.
Yeah. So it's like the DNA is a programming language, but it also it's a programming language that writes its own interpreter, and so then that interpreter interprets the DNA itself. So it's like this, there's like this self-referential aspect to it that was interesting to me.
Right. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on with this, and probably the closest, if we had to identify what this item is actually asking about, it's essentially trying to say, in the language of computer science, RNA and ribosomes are the DNA's interpreter, right? That's essentially what it's asking.
Yeah.
So I would probably rephrase it to that, and then you could make some supplemental items, like, what might be some elements of DNA that are instructions for building it, or however you want to phrase it. I don't know that much about DNA. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, I think that's really good. Could you give me that first one again? It was like in the language of computer science.
Yeah, in the language of computer science, ribosomes and RNA can be viewed as instructions for building the DNA's blank or whatever.
Oh no.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, I'll bet in the language of CS.
You're right. Ribosomes and RNA can be viewed as instructions for building the DNA's. I gotta learn more about DNA, man.
Yeah, I don't know all that much about DNA. It's like, I just
some geneticist is gonna tell us, no, you guys are idiots. This is totally not right at all. Some geneticist who also has a computer science degree.
Look,
is also a PhD mathematician.
Look, the problem is that we've just ascended to a level of abstraction at which this item makes sense. So, it's their problem, not ours.
That's right. And if you don't understand this, look, how are you going to blame us for that? It's not our fault that you're not sufficiently educated, all right?
Okay.
Wait, hold on. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, sorry. I'm really struggling to think.
Just Control Z a couple of times.
Okay.
Control Z a couple of times. Okay, there we go. Right? Isn't that right? And then just remove the end part.
Okay, RNA can be considered as. I don't think so. I think.
Oh, so it's as DNA's
Yeah,
blank. Is that what it is?
they can be considered the DNA's interpreter.
Right. So just remove as instructions for building, and then, or you can even change considered to viewed or whatever makes the most sense to you, and then just remove that end part. Everything after the quotes.
Yeah, viewed is better. Okay, as the DNA's interpreter. Beautiful.
Right.
And as for the rest of those items, I will listen back to this or watch it back again, because I think for people to watch me try to type like 4 more items is just going to be torturous and really frustrating. So I think that's it.
I'll just make one more note about this item.
Oh, go
if
ahead,
you wanted to, what you could do is just basically get rid of the beginning part, so it's just ribosomes and RNA, and then you could do a hint in the close and say like CS term or whatever.
Oh,
that
yes.
way you still get the benefit, but it's a little bit shorter.
Beautiful. Look at how much text we removed there. Look how clear the question is. And think about the effect.
Love it.
Think about the effect on the memory consolidation. Think about all of the beautiful serendipitous creative associations I'm going to be making now.
That's right. And think of how much time you're going to save. When you review this item, you don't have to read all those words.
Think about how jealous that mathematician PhD, CS PhD, and biology PhD are going to be when they see all of the amazing ideas that I'm coming up with.
That's right. You may have all those PhDs. You may be supremely well educated, but you don't have this good item. So joke's on you, pal.
All right. And with that, I think we'll call it a video. I really hope you enjoyed this one. And thank you again to Zander for joining me.
This was super fun, man.
Yeah, it was. This was way more fun than I thought it'd be, and I hope it's actually instructive to people. And yeah,
Beautiful.
let us know in the comments, and we'll be happy to make more of these in the future.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.